All right, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Rudd Sports Broadcasting Podcast. We are back after a 2-month layoff due to some technical difficulties, some um, issues with the scheduling conflicts with school, and hockey things going on for playoffs and junior hockey. Anyway, but we're back. So I am joined by my son Caleb Rutherford as the other member of my podcast crew, and I'm going to take this moment as we open this up to remind you all that uh, Till Valhalla Project is one of our unpaid sponsors. Sponsors. The Till Valhalla Project is a veteran-owned, mission-based apparel company specializing in quality products that save veteran lives and honor fallen heroes. At least 20% of net proceeds go towards funding therapy for struggling veterans and making memorial plaques that are surprise delivered to the families of fallen heroes. So far, their supporters have helped them donate over $1.3 million to fight veteran suicide and honor 72 fallen heroes each month. By supporting them, you help veterans get the mental health care they deserve and ensure no hero goes forgotten. Check out their website at hillvalhallaproject.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have had a lot going on in the sports world. We are in the middle of two major sports playoffs, the NHL and the NBA, of course. Um, and we recently had the NFL draft, and that's where we're going to start today's podcast is the NFL draft. So, Caleb, uh, talking a little bit about the NFL draft. There are a lot of surprises that went out through the course of the NFL draft. I think one of the biggest surprises, uh, at least in my opinion, was the Falcons after spending all that money on the contract for Kirk Cousins, uh, picking up Penix in with the seventh overall pick. What are your thoughts about that?
I definitely can't say I love the pick. I've said I've loved Penix since all season. I said Penix should be higher. Penix shouldn't be projected to go in the 20s. Most mock drafts had him going in like the second round, and I was like, there's just no way. Um, I definitely would never have had him going to the Falcons after they got Kurt. Um, and it's a hard pick to say is horrible because Penix is a good quarterback, but he doesn't play like Kirk Cousins that much. I mean, he definitely has some qualities that he has, but he's more mobile than Kirk Cousins, and it's I just don't see him being a great fit there with the quarterbacks they've had, and it could have almost been a pick to keep him from going to someone else, which I don't think it was. Uh, but he'll be 28 by the time Kurt's done, and I just I don't see what they were thinking on that pick at all.
I think they could have. I think they would have been better served by shoring up their defense a little bit, especially on the corners. That's just my opinion. Um, so when I talk about who won the draft, so everybody's mind goes to the Chicago Bears winning the draft because of course they got Caleb Williamson. So number one overall pick, that was a gimme, right? But I'd like to give a little bit of I'd like to give a little bit of love to the uh, Steelers, which not my favorite team, as you know. Uh, but I mean, they did well with what they had. I think they shored themselves up very nicely. Followed by maybe the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles, um, when you have arguably the two best quarterbacks in the NFL, well, okay, Russell Wilson maybe not as much anymore, but now you got Justin Fields. So it feels to me like Phillies are Phillies. Philly is set for a big run uh, coming up in this upcoming season. I don't know who's going to beat them, but I think the draft helped them shore up, uh, you know, some of the areas they needed to fix. I mean, they've got, you got that D back out of Iowa, DeHaan, is probably maybe one of the best ones, and they also had um, Quentin Mitchell or Quinion Mitchell, right? So basically, two of the top five defensive backs in college last year, and they got them both. So I think they're in a good spot. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and go out on like picking up Jaden Daniels for Washington Commanders um was a big pickup for them, uh, and they did okay the rest of the way. But I'm going to give my number 5 overall to the Minnesota Vikings. Yes, I'm a little biased in that opinion, but uh, you know, being able to trade up and get J.J. McCarthy and then turn right around and get Alabama's Dallas Turner, that was a big first round move by Kwesi Adolfo, um, in my opinion. I think that helps a lot. And then having some additional defensive help that he was able to pick up along the way throughout the rest of the rounds. Because honestly, the what else do the Vikings need on offense right now? They don't. Um, Having that quarterback that can back up Sam Darnold, learn from Sam Darnold over the next few years, um, and then seeing where it falls, I think is going to be very helpful. So, what say you, Caleb?
I mean, I don't really know if I have necessarily a top five. Just teams that like definitely stuck out to me, and the Vikings. I was down eating when the Vikings made their pick, and I mean I love the JJ pick when it happened. Um, I think he's a really strong quarterback who is probably going to start for us. Um, I just don't see anyone else starting over McCarthy this year at least. Um, and then the second trade up for Dallas Turner, just also, I mean, probably the best edge of the draft. He is like Dallas Turner. I was watching in combine and everything. He impressed me a lot, and uh, I think this is a strong year for the Vikings. Um, and I don't know if this is the Bills or the Chiefs decision, but as a Bills fan, I have to talk about the trade for virtually for Xavier Worthy. Uh, and I didn't love losing him, especially to the Chiefs. And after we don't have Diggs, we don't have Davis. Kind of seemed like we were gonna get one, and Xavier Worthy was right there. We traded down not once but twice in that draft, and I think if we're talking about possibly one of the worst drafts this year, I would probably give it to the Bills. I didn't like any moves that they made. Um, so that should just be talking about the Bills, but on the other like great sides of things, the Steelers definitely come to mind. Um, they're another just strong team that made moves and they got people that they needed.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair, and I would agree with that. I think one of the underrated or undergraded draft teams this year was the Baltimore Ravens, because the Baltimore Ravens are already a strong team. Let's just face it, right? They still have Dalvin Cook shoring up that backfield now this year. Will probably have a more active role for them, but um, picking up Nate Wiggins from Clemson. Um, that's that's where they needed. They needed to shore up their secondary. Their secondary was the part that was going to struggle due to some injuries and everything else. Um, you shored up the offensive line. You got an outside linebacker. So they did some things that they needed to do. They weren't worried about setting up uh, their receiving game because they have it. Uh, Obviously, they lose OBJ this year, uh, but they pick up uh, Devontae Walker out of UNC, and he's a decent wide receiver. He was their number one last year. So they picked up who they needed to pick up, and I think they're. I don't know that anybody else is going to beat them out of from their division. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, uh, the Ravens, the Ravens would probably win that division again, based off of just what they have. That was probably the strongest team in the league last year. They didn't lose too much. They'll be one of the strongest teams again. Uh, and I mean, that is the NFC North and the AFC North are both full of strong teams. I believe the NFC North is probably stronger, but the AFC North overall is just a really strong division, and I could see some team out of that division winning a Super Bowl this year. Um, but I definitely would still pick the Ravens to win that division overall. Um, just they did what they needed. They got their depth. Like if they have injuries, if they have something, they went out and they got people to fix positions that they didn't have the backups at.
Right. No, I agree. I think they did the things that they needed to do going in. But so again, I think you know, Chicago gets the default because they had the number one overall pick and picked up Caleb Williamson. But uh, the thing is he's still unproven in the NFL. So only how he performs this year is going to determine whether or not they won that draft.
Um,
So
yeah, I think a bigger move for the Bears was that ninth pick of Roma Dunze. Um, One of the biggest pieces of that Washington team. Him and Penix were spot on all year long, and I loved Roma Dunze all year, just like I loved Michael Penix. I loved watching that Washington team play, and I don't love Caleb, mostly due to the ego he has shown over the past year.
I thought it was because he shares your same
And
name.
uh yeah, I just don't love uh I just don't love the way he carries himself at all. Um I feel like he thinks he's the next Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, and I just don't see it right now. Um that USC team was really bad. I'll give that to him. But the team didn't want to help him either. And they said that. Multiple players on that team. He treated his team horribly. He treated fans horribly. And I mean, you have Bears fans. I saw the other day about a Bears fan wearing a Fields jersey and a bunch of people around him chanting, "We want Fields still." And he set himself on fire with gasoline. Like, they did not want Justin Fields to leave that team. And they said, I've seen a bunch of people say that people are, whenever he drops back to throw a pass, the fans are going to turn around at Soldier Field. And Chicago's not going to embrace him. And if you're going to be playing against an away crowd for 17 games, it's going to be hard on you.
You're right about that. And you know what? It even goes back to, so there was the Twitter that was or the tweet on X that was out there, I guess, from Torrey Taylor, which is a new punter for Chicago, and Caleb Williams told him, "Hey, you're making good money, but you're not going to punt a lot here." That's I don't know. Maybe he thinks he's going to turn over the ball more than he's. Who knows?
I mean, maybe, but
But it's kind of cocky of Caleb Williams when he hasn't played, even taken an NFL snap. So who
exactly.
knows?
Most quarterbacks aren't at that next level in their rookie year. Like, I mean, I can't think of one that's really like stood out at been like literally one of the best. I mean, CJ Stroud will stand out and forever stand out. He was a great quarterback year one, but this was a pretty hyped up quarterback class last year, not nearly as much as past years. And
It's all going to come down
they
to it's all going to come down to how much work Williams puts into working with his receiving core in spring training or spring camp. You know what I mean? When they start having their team camps, is he going to come in there as you know as the guy who's like, "Yep, I got it. This is my team." Or is he going to come in there and realize that he's got to earn the respect of his teammates? And that is the difference between a good player who has talent and a great player who can lead, which is what the Bears are going to really need, especially when you're talking about. I mean, uh, teams like the Vikings who are going to have a strong team. I mean, you know, we don't need JJ McCarthy to start this year because they got Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold can take the reins for a year because you've got Aaron Jones in the backfield now. You've got uh, you, you know uh, you got Justin Jefferson. You've got Kalen Addison. I mean, we have the offensive power that um, you know Sam Darnold is going to be able to work with. Um, and McCarthy's going to be able to settle in. Eventually, he is going to take snaps. Uh, whether that's this year or next year, it remains to be seen. But I think the Vikings are. I mean, Detroit's the team to beat, but the team to beat them is going to be the Vikings. I think in the North.
yeah, I mean, overall, I think any team can win that North Division, just like any team can win the AFC North. I think they're the two divisions that are truly up for grabs for any of the four teams. Uh, and I do think the Bears will get last in the NFC North again because, I mean, I've stated my displeasure of Caleb Williams over and over again all year long. But they added he has receivers. They added Keenan Allen, and I think that's one of the biggest moves they made this offseason. I mean, DeAndre Swift, too. So, Chicago's a great team, but so are the Packers. The Packers added Josh Jacobs. Jordan Love is getting better and better every year. I mean, and then Detroit, who brought in new pieces and played phenomenally last year. They're not just going to not play well this year after playing the way they did last year. So I believe that those are four very, very good teams in the NFC North, and any of them can um, go to win the division, and I believe probably three, possibly four can even make the playoffs. It's very unlikely that four teams from one division will make the playoffs, but I think that those four teams are four of the best teams in that in the whole conference. So,
I can't disagree with you there. I think you're right. All right. Do you have anything else on the draft before we move on to the NHL?
uh, I just one of my friends is a Jacksonville fan, and I just I just wanted to like point out the whole three LSU players thing, which was really funny because every single time they made the pick, uh, he kept yelling another LSU player, and I don't think I've seen a lot of that just coming from uh just pretty much one team, and I just found it funny that they kept doing it and just so many LSU players, even if it's only three out of like seven picks, but it's still almost half. And yeah,
Well, LSU is the farm program for Jacksonville now, so so
I'll start
they're
with
the farm they're the farm team. All right, I am gonna move on here to the NHL playoffs. So, uh, a couple of the rounds are already done. Obviously, one of the ones that breaks my heart a little bit was Washington going out in the first round, being swept by the New York Rangers. I have Rangers fans that I am friends with, that I'm a little surprised by. So all in all, I didn't really think that Washington was going to beat New York. I did not think they were going to get swept. I for sure didn't think uh, that Alex Ovechkin was going to be held to 0-0 in the series. I mean, that's wow. I mean, that's a big move right there. Stopping Alex Ovechkin, not even getting a point in the entire series. So, um, currently I have on right now, right in front of me. That's why you see me glancing every once in a while. Is the Vancouver Nashville great series? Vancouver up 3-2. I thought they were going to have this thing done in 6 games, and they might still. But it's a tight game. All their games have been tight. Maybe the biggest shocker to me in the NHL playoffs so far is the fact that Boston and Toronto are going to a game 7. Uh, Honestly, I thought Boston was going to lock this thing up in 5 games, and that was going to be it. And here we are going to a game 7 tomorrow night. So, uh, what are your thoughts, Caleb, on where we're at on
uh,
in the Eastern Division, e-
yeah,
Eastern
specifically on
Conference?
the East. I mean, I've been right so far. I had Carolina beating New York in 5. They swept them. I had the Rangers in 4. I had absolutely zero trust in the Capitals. I said multiple times the Capitals. Again, against what you guys
Like
wanted,
half
I said
half
the
the
Cap.
team is wait. Half that
I
team is
said
former St. Cloud State players. Of course they're going to be good. Come
I
on.
said I said the Capitals were the worst playoff team I've ever seen. And they proved that they didn't play well at all during the playoffs. Um, and I mean, they just they they didn't play like they wanted to be there. They didn't play like they wanted to play well. It was just it just seemed like lack
Well,
of play
when you
from them.
when you lose a staple late in the season, right at the trade deadline, uh, by trading off Evgeny Kuznetsov, I'm not fully sure I ever understood that move by the Caps to get rid of Kuzi um, when you're in a playoff run. I mean, I guess it worked because they boosted themselves. They got themselves in the playoff position. Yeah, they had a negative 37 goal differential on the season, but a lot of that had to do with early on in the season. Once they kind of committed to Charlie Lindgren, I thought they were a little more solid. But you know, they essentially been playing playoff hockey for a month and a half. So I think their gas tank was already a little bit nixed. It's kind of like the Wild. The Wild were in the push right up to the last couple games. When you look at the Western Conference, right? They were in it. They had a chance uh, to the point where uh, you know John Hines said he's like, look, we've got to win in regulation. We can't be giving away points to the guys we're chasing, so we have to win in regulation. And he would pull guys, he tie game, less than 2 minutes left in the third period, and pull for an extra attacker because he knew he needed those points. So the Wild were in the same situation, could overcome, but the Caps did. They had a very good March. Like I said, I just think the gas ran out of the tank there. Um, I'll be interested. So, uh, the one that interests me the most, or is most intriguing to me, is the fact that Boston and Toronto are going to 7 games. Um, I just, on paper, Boston is by far the better team. Yet, Toronto finding a way, maybe getting a little help from Toronto in a couple of calls, but uh, at the end of the day, I think this may be the most competitive series in the entire Stanley Cup playoffs so far. What are your thoughts there?
Uh, I don't know if I'd necessarily go with competitive just because it seemed like a that Boston just thought they were better. Uh, and they had every right to. They are a way better team, and they beat them every single time they played them this year by a lot. Zero close games. So if you beat a team 5 times, you can barely beat a team 3 times. You beat them 5 times, and then you win that first playoff game. That's 6 in a row. You're bound to get a little complacent. Then they drop game 2, and that was kind of like, oh, okay, I guess they can beat us. They went out and won 2 more, played very well, and got complacent again. Now you're tied 3-3. I do think Boston will come out on top. I had that series going to 6, because I did believe that complacency was going to set in from Boston. They're not exactly a team that's not bound to get like that. They're veterans who had the best record almost ever last year, and they're they are probably the best team in the league again, or one of. They just
Yeah.
they're gonna get cocky because of how they play and because of how good they are. Um, I don't like a lot of players on that team, and I don't like Boston, but I do believe they they will come out on top because they are veterans. That team's not young at all, so I'm sure they'll come out on top. Um, but it's just they're proof that cockiness is not something, like confidence and cockiness are different, and
No,
they're showing that right now.
no, it's true. And it starts with leadership, right? Like, let's face it. Come on, you name Brad Marchand as your captain, and Brad Marchand is cocky. I'm not a big fan of Brad Marchand, but then again, I'm a big fan of Tom Wilson. But nobody else in the NHL, no other team's fans except for Washington Capitals fans are Tom Wilson fans. The same thing. Everybody in Boston loves Marchand. Nobody else in the league likes Marchand. It is what it is. But that also comes back to the cockiness of Marchand. He tries to start stuff. He gets under your skin. Um, you know, it's not much different than you know. Honestly, it's not much different than your brother. He gets under people's skin, and That's how he generates penalties. That's how he generates opportunities because he gets under people's skin. So, there's nothing to say. It's not dirty, per se, as it is just a mentality, you know. So, moving on to the West. So, a lot of people, I've been reading a lot of people were surprised by uh, Winnipeg getting beat as handily as they did by uh, Colorado, which honestly, I don't know why, because I for sure always thought Colorado was going to win that. In fact, I think I had that going five, and I believe it only went five, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but for sure knew that Winnipeg was not going to be uh, Colorado. Um, the one that kind of surprised me a little bit is how close the Dallas and Vegas series has been. I kind of, even though Vegas was the wild card, I kind of always expected them to kind of run away with it, and they haven't. And maybe that's a home ice advantage thing for Dallas. I mean, I got it. They got Suter. They got the experience down there, but I just don't think they're a better team. But the team that I think is going to come out of the West um, is a Canadian team, but it's not Vancouver. I think Edmonton has a very real shot at being the first, being not the first, but the first in a long time, uh, Canadian Stanley Cup finalist team. What do you think there, Caleb?
I do have the Oilers also coming out of the West. I have them losing to Carolina in the finals. Um, but when it comes to, I think when it comes to competitive series, you have to look at Dallas and Vegas because they have put on so many good games so far. Every single one of them I have loved to watch. I have Dallas in seven, and I had Dallas in seven always. So I'm kind of glad that series is as good as it is. I had Colorado beating Winnipeg. I had it in six. It went five. Connor Hellebuck did not play well. It didn't look like Connor Hellebuck in net, which I think was the ultimate downfall of Winnipeg because I mean, not a lot of teams bank on their goaltender because you need to score, but that team has their scorers. They also have the ability to uh they also have the ability to play amazing defense, and that is what uh Hellebuck gives them and what they weren't able to do with him. Uh I had Vancouver in four. That didn't happen. I still think Vancouver will win that series. But Nashville's played strong. And then I guessed correctly on the 5-game series in LA, in the LA Edmonton game. And I believe Edmonton is a strong team, and they don't lean too heavily on one player, but they also lean on the players they need to lean on.
I think, like I said, Edmonton on paper, nobody compares to them on paper, in my opinion. But the games are played on paper, so people have to perform, right? I think I wasn't surprised by Colorado Winnipeg. I do agree that Dallas Vegas is probably the best of all the series that are ongoing right now in the playoffs. I think that is the best one because everything's been a one goal game um, in that series. So that
I've
has
also
been one of
loved
the
the
best.
gold. I've also loved the
Go ahead.
I've loved the goaltending in that game on that series. Just not necessarily low scoring games totally, but just not really many weak goals in that series. And just, I mean, that might be because I'm a goaltender. That's why I'm saying it. But I love watching Ottinger and Hill and Thompson go at it. I don't know who's starting for him, but either way, that that has been a great goaltending series, and I've loved watching that.
I think I believe Hill is starting. I think tonight is game 7, right?
Uh,
Um,
6 possibly.
6?
I I think they've only played 5 right now.
Game 6 tonight. Yeah, game 6 tonight.
Yeah,
So it should be a good one. It'll be in Vegas. So I think
starts in 28 minutes.
I think so. I think so. So we're running out of time. Uh, no, but no, I think that's gonna be a good one. But at the end of the day, I think there's a this has been one of the most unpredictable NHL playoffs. Just when you look at the field across the board, um, in recent memory. Um, there's one series that I forgot to go back to on the Eastern side, and this might be your surprise team. Uh, I mean, because they shocked the world last year, right? Uh, the Florida Panthers looked really, really good against Tampa Bay and Vasilevsky. Um, Bobby was on his game. Um, I thought the Panthers looked solid. Um, what did you think of that series?
I mean, that was one of the most dominating performances we've seen. Just that is a strong Tampa team. They always have been, but that Florida team is number one in the Atlantic for a reason. They dominated. That I mean, I hate using the same word 45 times in a row because it just it's hard to do it, but that's the only word I can even use for them because they just impressed me so much. They did it last year, uh, and I mean I had Florida winning that series just because I know what they can do. Um, I have them losing to Boston. I'm kind of second guessing that decision now, but it looks like I can't change that. So we're gonna stick with Florida and hope they can. I mean, we're gonna stick with Boston and really not hope they can pull it out because I don't like Boston. But I will be cheering for Florida, even if I have Boston winning. But that Florida team could could win this year. Maybe they'll face Vegas again. Who knows?
But I'll tell you what, I definitely had Vegas beating Tampa. I had Boston beating Toronto, but I did have Boston beating Florida, much like you did. I just I don't know. I mean, Florida has looked really good the last month and a half. And it's almost effortless. It's not like they're not pressing. They weren't pressing for anything really. They had enough of a lead in the Atlantic that it didn't really matter. Um, they just they looked like they were confident. Um, and the funny thing is that the announcers after Florida beat Tampa was that the Florida torch of hockey domination has been passed from the Lightning to the Panthers. They said that's kind of how it felt over the last couple of playoff runs. So um, I don't necessarily disagree. I think um, the disadvantage I think Florida's going to have is how quickly that series ended and the fact that Boston is playing 7. I know that's counterintuitive. Like, wait, they get all this rest, but they're not getting game situations. By the time they play their first game against Boston, if Boston beats Toronto, um, they will have already had over a week of no contact. I mean, they might have contact, but not game situation. You know what I mean? Um, and that could prove detrimental, at least over the first couple games. But a team like Boston, you can't get down early to them, and have to try to fight back. So um, it should be interesting to see how that rest plays out because that might be the one thing that gets them. All right,
Uh, yeah,
go ahead.
I kind of would also like. I think that it could help them because now you get to you get to figure out what you need to do for Boston and or Toronto. Like I don't know whether they just said, "Oh, we think Boston's going to win. Let's go start running our practices like we're about to play Boston for 7 games." Or whether they just thought Toronto was going to win and said, "Let's go play like we're going to play Toronto." Or if they're kind of doing both. But I think it gives them more mobility in the fact that they don't have to go hard every other day. Like you can have you can recover and you can get ready for what's to come. Every time we've seen teams sweep in the first round, it seems like they end up going pretty far. And that is because they are probably a better team than the others. But I also think that resting is some of the most important, like, it's probably it is a very important part. And I think it'll help Florida, at least in this case.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think it just kind of I think it just depends on you know I always get worried about playoff teams that have to sit there and wait that long to not only find out who the next opponent is, but just to keep that intensity because they always talk about playoffs. Towards the end of the regular season, intensity wraps up even in the locker room and on the practice ice. Um, and the question I think becomes is that you know have they let up on that intensity while they've been waiting to come back? All right, going on to Caleb's favorite subject, and I'm going to let him kick this one off because we're going to talk a little bit about the champ and the NBA playoffs. So,
uh,
Caleb, I'll let you go ahead and start.
I mean, I would say let's not get ahead of ourselves here with talking about that series coming in round 2, but it starts tomorrow, so kind of probably have to. And I think it is going to be, and I've seen ESPN say it, I've talked about it with my friends, and they've all said it too, that this could be one of the best series we have ever seen. This is the best Timberwolves team, and I will say that maybe not the best, but one of the top Timberwolves teams we've ever seen. They won the Timberwolves haven't won a playoff series since I've been born. Their last one was in 2004. Okay, I have waited all 18 years, 19 years of my life to see them win a playoff series. I finally got it, and then I got told to sit down because it was sad that it took 19 years. But I am in love with how the Timberwolves have played this entire season. Uh, and I mean, the Nuggets are still great. This is going to be one of the best series we have seen. And I should probably talk about the Cavs Magic just because, I mean, there's 18 seconds left in their game, and it's about to go to a game 7. But I'm just excited for tomorrow. I'll be watching the Nuggets Timberwolves, and then when I come down to you guys in a week after finals is over, I will watch it with you, and I will wear my Timberwolves jersey, and I will sit right next to you and proceedingly cheer on the Timberwolves.
You're gonna be a little silent, I think, there, buddy. Uh, you and that little Ant Man jersey you got. No, honestly, I think I'm just gonna say it. This series is gonna tell us who's gonna probably win the uh NBA title this year. I'm going there. I know, I'm about 3 playoff series ahead of myself. Okay, but I don't. I think this is it. I think this is who it's gonna be. I mean, it comes down to this is defense versus offense at its greatest, right? Um, you got guys like Nas Reed, you got Rudy Gobert, you got I think the Gobert Jokic uh matchup is going to be intense. Can Gobert, you know, stop, the Joker inside? Um, you know, eh, Not to take anything away from, Wiggins and what he can do. Or sorry, not Wiggins. Ant. Not taking anything away from Ant and what he can do offensively, but the best defensive team, in my opinion, in the NBA this year has been the Timberwolves. But the best offensive team in the NBA this year, by far, has been the Nuggets. So, I think that's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah,
Um,
and I mean, I think when it comes down to it, it's not going to be Jokic is going to take over this series, Ant's going to take over the series. There's not going to be Murray, Cat. This is going to be the exact same thing that happened against the Suns. They talked about KD, they talked about Beal, they talked about, hey, this team has so much more experience, they're going to win. But Jaden McDaniels was our best player in that series. He's
mhm,
been one of the best players on our team all year.
mhm.
Jaden McDaniels was the X factor in that series. And the person who will be covering him is Michael, the possession ends here, Porter Jr. Uh, he is averaging 1 assist per game, and he does not pass the ball, but that has absolutely nothing to do with it. Uh, I don't think he necessarily has the defensive capability to stop McDaniels, and McDaniels is a great defender. So if Michael Porter, Michael never swing the rock Porter, doesn't pass the ball, I don't think they're going to do a lot because McDaniels is a great defender. And Michael Porter Jr. can't just huck up 30 shots a game and hope something happens because it's just not going to happen if that is the case.
Well, I think, and this is, when you look, the core of this Nuggets team has been together for 4 seasons now. They know each other. They know where each other is going to be. That's why I think they are the best offensive team because they already know, you know, how us as Joker, uh, you know, not even look to the corner that's behind his back and just throw the ball and know that, Porter's going to be there, right? It's that level of trust and confidence in knowing where people are going to be. Um, that that's you can't replicate that. That's just knowing your teammates, and I think that's why um, they might. That's why I think the Nuggets are built for repeat.
Yeah, and
But obviously we have to play games. That's why they're playoffs. That's why there's the best of seven, right? So I think this series goes 7 games. Um, and at the end of the day, I mean, I believe the Nuggets can come out on top. I hope they do. But I know you hope otherwise. So, you know,
Yeah, those that should be the best playoff series um we see, and it is now official. The Magic and Cavaliers will go to Game 7. Uh, but another series that really stood out to me and uh, was kind of surprising was that Pacers Bucks series. Uh, Obi Toppin played great throughout the series, and I definitely was not expecting the Pacers to beat the Bucks, but they did. Uh, and they'll move on, and I think it is because of the just like age almost. The younger teams have come out on top so far. The Knicks
mhm.
beat the Sixers. Dallas is currently beating the Clippers, and I just don't see. I mean, the Nuggets are younger than the Lakers too, and the Thunder won. The young teams are coming out on top, and I will have to chalk that up as to why the Bucks lost because I don't see how else that could have happened because the Bucks are a great team, but the Pacers played extremely well to come out on top.
I agree with that. I think you know the truth is, the reason OKC is where they're at, is because they know what a pro wants and what a pro needs.
Oh my god.
So you know, shit. They're getting that extra love from that commercial, but no, I I still don't think OKC won the conference on the last day of the. I mean that's the thing, right? Like how competitive the Western Conference was with uh the Wolves and Nuggets and OKC coming down to the very last
Yeah.
day of the season. Um, one of those three was going to win it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Wolves lost, uh, Nuggets won, but so did OKC. And based off a head-to-head, OKC ended up taking the number one seed. Um, but I'm okay with that, because you don't have to be the number one seed to win the NBA title. So. But
No.
that it doesn't surprise me that came down to that it came down to that. So I think I do agree with you that the Pacers Bucks, that was a shocking series for me. Um, I had the Sixers upsetting the Knicks. Uh, Maybe I shouldn't have been so confident in that, but something in my bones told me that they were going. They had a chance, and they did. I think they did. I think they came up short. They came up just short in two of those games that they lost. So that could have very easily gone the other direction. Obviously, it didn't. Um, but I still come back to, when I look at all of the different semifinals sitting around. Like the Celtics are sitting around right now, waiting on Cleveland and Orlando. Which, by the way, I have Orlando winning that series.
I do
Which
not.
I have Orlando winning that series. They're going to have to do it in Cleveland, but they don't have LeBron anymore, so uh, I think they have a chance. Um, but I think out of the West, I think the best series is going to be the Pacers Knicks for the semifinals.
Yeah. I mean, the Pacers, and the hard thing about it is that Knicks team is really good. And I want to say that the Pacers beating the Bucks was a fluke because that Pacers team is great. And Brunson versus uh, Tyrese will be
Yeah.
great. But that Knicks team is just, they are lights out from everywhere on the court. They shoot so well. And like no matter who you're giving that ball to, there's a chance they can shoot that thing. Like Josh Hart, Hartenstein, DiVincenzo, they're all amazing. Like they all can shoot the ball very well, and I think that's going to be the key difference. Is just that I think the Knicks are a lot better of a team than the Pacers, but they also finished like 4 games apart in the standings, so it could definitely go either way.
I think that series what it's going to come down to is whether or not you know can the Knicks stop Pascal Siakam inside. Um, I mean he is so the Pacers ran a good portion of their offense through Pascal Siakam during that series against the Bucks. Um, and I think if it runs through him and they can't stop him, uh, they have a chance. If they shut down Siakam, they shut down the Pacers. He's kind of that pivot point. That's just I only saw a couple of their games this playoffs. I didn't see very much of them throughout the year, uh, kind of because I didn't even know they were going to make the playoffs. To be honest with you, um, but but the games that I've watched, the one constant is Pascal Siakam. This is a guy who's averaging what 20, 24 points a game. Um, he's pushing a double double every game. Um, and he can grab some boards too. The other thing is, uh, you know, the Brunson, like you said, Halliburton and Brunson is going to be a big matchup.
Yeah. Uh, One more series I just want to click on real quick and talk a little bit about is what I believe has been one of the better series we've seen, and it could come to an end within the next 2 hours because they proceedingly started early by 6 minutes. Actually, they're like 4 minutes into the game now. But the Clippers and Mavericks game that was supposed to start at 10 and is already with 8 minutes left in the first quarter, uh, that series has been great. The Mavs pulled away in the last game, which kind of pulled that series down a little bit when it came to uh, how good the series is going to be. But overall, I think both these teams have been very even if the games haven't showed that, and they haven't. Only one game has been within 5 points, and that was game two when the Mavericks tied up the series. Um, Overall, they've been pretty outlandish victories, just absolute blowouts almost, and that kind of is telling me that I mean, the Mavericks are up by 5 now, too, with 8 minutes left in the first. I think the Mavericks will end it tonight. I have the Clippers winning. I had the Clippers in 7, but I
But you get
also was expecting the Clippers to be in the lead right now.
well. Also, you got to remember though. So here's the thing about Dallas, right? So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good they are or the supporting cast. Their number one player is Luka Doncic. And right now, Doncic is playing on a bum knee. He sprained it a couple games ago, and he refuses because even the coaching staff has said that uh, you know he is playing through an injury that most likely would have sidelined him had this been a regular season, if it was during the middle of the regular season. But uh, it's kind of funny they let on to that because, in my opinion, like you keep those your stars injuries, you kind of keep them silent because the truth is he's obviously not as mobile. You go at him, um, he's either going to foul or you're going to get around him. And knowing that he's not going to be able to cut the way he does. So without 100% Luca, I don't know that Dallas pulls it off. I got it. They're ahead right now in this game. But if they lose this game, I think game seven is going to be really, really tough on them.
Yeah, and I think the reason why this series is how it is right now is because uh Kyrie has really stepped up. Kyrie has made some amazing passes to set up someone who's open. Daniel Gafford has played great uh since he showed up in Dallas at the trade deadline. Gafford has played great. This is not Wizards Gafford we're seeing. This is a
Right.
new Daniel Gafford playing for Dallas, and you have Jones Jr. Um, this team has a great mix of older players, younger players, and the people who are in between. And I think they have more depth than a lot of teams have, and especially the Clippers. Like the Dallas will trust Derek Lively, who's a rookie coming off the bench, easily. But the Clippers don't have as much depth, especially at the big man spot. I mean, Dallas had a great trade deadline, and I think Dallas already knew they were making the playoffs. Their deadline was to see how far they could go in the playoffs. Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington were two of the best moves at that deadline. I think the Mavericks had the best deadline, and they're proving it right now. Uh, my friend will be very happy to hear me talking about the Mavericks like this because I will never talk about them like this near him because he is a Mavericks fan. But they're a great team, and he'll probably never watch this, and I will never say this to him, but the Mavericks have had great management this year and play on the court, and that is the difference between a good team and that team that's at the next level is
Oh,
not just how do you play on the court, but how do you coach. Jason Kidd is not a great coach, so I'm going to leave coaching out of the conversation. But management wise, they had a great deadline, which is why they're winning this series right now.
oh, there's a difference between a great coach and a great manager um, uh, on the court. And Jason Kidd is a great manager. He knows where to put people. Um, it doesn't make him a good coach. It just makes him a good management of talent. And so I don't disagree with that. But I would tell you, I still I'm still skeptical about Dallas, and I think if they do win this series, it'll be the last series they win this year. Um, I think
I mean,
I don't. They're not going to beat Shea Gilgis Alexander and the Thunder. It's just not going to happen.
no. I think the Thunder will play the winner of that Denver and Minnesota. Um, just because
Oh, that's true.
I don't think either of these teams are strong enough to beat that team, and they might run primarily through two people, and they do. They run through
Yeah,
Shea and they run through Chet.
yeah,
But when you have a person who hasn't like 20-foot wingspan, it makes things really easy. Chet is averaging, I believe, like 3-4 blocks in the playoffs. Chet is a great defender. Him and Wemby are, I mean, battle out for Rookie of the Year. Wemby is going to win it, but
I was going to say Wemby's winning the
him and
Rookie of the
Wemby are
Year. You know
practically
this.
the same player. Chet is just, oh yeah, Wemby should win Defensive Player of the Year too. Whether he's not going to, it'll probably go to Rudy, but
He'll probably go to Gobert.
but which I mean, I'll be happy taking our second award of the year because sixth man has already gone to Naz Reid, so
As it
yay.
should.
But I had Malik Monk winning sixth man of the year. He played great, but I mean Malik Monk and Naz Reid, that award could have gone up and down, upper to either of them. They both played great.
Right.
And I think Defensive Player of the Year will probably go to Gobert, but Wemby should get it. And when I kind of got.
I think rookie's got to go to Wemby though.
Oh yeah, by far, because he is the best rookie we've ever seen. Because they said that exact same thing about LeBron, and there hasn't been a rookie like LeBron yet. And Wemby has better stats in every single category than LeBron had. More points per game, assists, steals, blocks, rebounds. He's shooting more efficiently. He is a better rookie than LeBron was. And look what LeBron is now.
Yeah,
So is
when,
that Wemby?
Okay, hold on though. No, hold on. No. The difference is Wemby's 9'5". So
I
and
think
it
that
has
might
a
have been a
wingspan
little bit of an exaggeration.
and it has a wingspan of a 747. So and I get your point. But you can't compare being a rookie 20 years ago to being a rookie now. The game has changed. Uh, the they're different style players. Um, they even play different positions than when LeBron came into the league. So, um,
They still play different positions.
well, they still do. But what I'm saying is, so you can't compare. I don't think it's a fair comparison to compare LeBron to. It's the same reason everybody said you can't compare Jordan to LeBron. They're different players, different eras, different. Obviously, LeBron is still playing, and 40-year-old LeBron is not the same as 20-year-old Wemby, right? But um, will Wemby be at that same level in 20 years when he's LeBron's age? Is he still going to be able to do the same things that he's doing now? And the answer to that question remains to be seen. But I will tell you, he's not built like LeBron.
I think one of the best things that's going to help Wemby out is I think he'll play for a long time because, like, you see all this stretching and stuff he does. People at the size of Wemby and Chet get hurt really easily, and that hasn't been seen with Chet. I mean, okay, I can't even say that he missed all of last season,
I was
but
gonna say,
Chet was a rookie. Chet was technically a rookie last year, but didn't play a single game because he tore his ACL or something in the spring league. But he didn't get hurt his entire life before that. Chet didn't, and I don't think Chet will have an injury like that again. Wemby, I don't think he'll have an injury like that. They both care more about their bodies than a lot of sports players do. I'm not even going to just say NBA players. They have spent so much time eating correctly, working out, stretching, not just becoming strong, but also stretching, becoming flexible. Caring about your body when you're that size is super important. And I think not only one of them, but both of them could eventually be in the GOAT debate because they both had phenomenal rookie seasons. And they both will continue to have phenomenal seasons from here on out. Chet, Wemby, and Ant will be the face of the league for a long time. And
That's fair.
I've always been really, really high on Wemby. Um,
Don't forget
but
SGA though.
eh, SGA is too old. SGA is like 25. That's on him.
Yeah. Right. So,
He played for the Clippers and no one knew he existed. So that's
okay.
that's
All right.
that's
All
that's on
right.
them.
Yeah. No, I get that. So now I think good discussion today. I think at the end of the day, I still think that Denver's going to win and repeat. I know you disagree with that statement, but I still say it comes down to that Minnesota and Denver
Hey,
series is going to. I think whoever wins that is the one that most likely is going to win the championship this year.
I never necessarily said I disagree with that. My bracket says I have the Denver Nuggets repeating. I just said I don't want them to because, I mean, I've been a Timberwolves fan for 19 years. I'm not going to change that now. So
Right, right. I got you. All right. Well, anything else to add, Caleb?
I don't think so. I think we're all set.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you tuning in to episode 4 of the Red Sports Broadcasting Podcast. Uh, I know we've been out away for a couple months, but we will be uh, picking this back up. We expect to do it throughout the summer for the most part. We'll be bringing you information on the second round of the NHL playoffs as well as the NBA playoffs. We'll talk a little bit in the coming weeks about the MLB season, which is now we got about a month in the books, little over a month in the books, and some things are starting to take shape at the top of those standings, and we will get into those in upcoming episodes. But for that, this is it for the podcast for tonight. We thank you for tuning in. Continue to tune in, and don't forget to subscribe to Rudd Sports Broadcasting on YouTube. Good night, everybody.